Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here, and thank you, John. It's really wonderful to be back in Detroit, and it's a true honor to be back at the Detroit Economic Club. It's really terrific people. I was here at 2016, so maybe it brought a little luck. We're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. Before we begin, I want to send our love to everyone affected by the hurricane. As you know, it was a rough night, and who would have thought a lot of things happening at one time? But that's just ripped through Florida and also the people of North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, Florida again, and Tennessee for what they went through with Hurricane Helene. We had quite a combination. I'd like to congratulate governors of Florida, Ron DeSantis, Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia, and South Carolina, Henry McMaster. They were really hit hard, and they've done really a fantastic job. The federal government, on the other hand, has not done what you're supposed to be doing, in particular with respect to North Carolina. They've let those people suffer unjustly. And we're praying for all of those who lost a house, or much more importantly, a precious loved one. And there were many, actually many in Georgia and North Carolina. Florida will rebuild and come back strong. It always does. I look forward to returning very soon. We'll be there very soon. And okay, now let's get to the reason that I'm here today. I think you're going to find some interesting things, both good and bad, but we make the bad into good. That's what we like to do. It was just announced that inflation came in substantially hotter than expected last month, double what was predicted, with much of the gain coming from food prices going up, rent and housing costs going up, and car prices going up. Interest rates, as you know, are also a big factor. They're very high. They've gone from 2% when I was in office to 10% now, and you can't get the money. That means it's much higher than 10%, which really kills the American dream for young people. We have a lot of young people here, a lot of college people here. The fact is that the Federal Reserve brought the interest rates down a little too quickly. It was too big a cut, and everyone knows that was a political maneuver that they tried to do before the election, but they did the wrong thing. It was totally a political decision, and inflation has started to rise. 4 years ago, when I left office, we had no inflation. We had virtually, just think of it, we had virtually no inflation for the entire 4 years. So when people made money, that was really their money. It wasn't money that they have to give back to a source that they know nothing about, including government. Under Biden and Harris, because of inflation, the economy has been a total disaster. But Kamala says that she can't think of one thing that she would do differently. She said that 2 days ago in a very unfortunate interview for her. And there are many people saying, in particular, highly respected analysts like Scott Bessent, one of the top analysts on Wall Street, that the only reason that the stock market has gone up is because Donald Trump is doing very well in the polls, and it looks like he's going to win. A lot of people are saying that. Who knows? But a lot of people are saying that. The only way to end this suffering is to vote for change this November, because what we're doing as a country is very bad. We're being scoffed at and laughed at all over the world. The other big news is the fraud committed by 60 Minutes and CBS, together with the Democrat Party, working together with them, which will go down as the single biggest scandal in broadcast history, I predict. It's a big story. I don't know if you've seen it yet. Happened. They learned about it yesterday evening. The real answer of Kamala was very crazy or dumb. Nobody knows what, but it was bad. So they actually replaced it. Think of this. They've never done that for me. They actually replaced it with another answer, having nothing to do with what she said before. They took another thing that she said and they just lopped it in there. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. 60 Minutes, nobody's ever seen. And They wanted to make her look as good as possible, make her look better. A big problem in our country is the fake news. We have such fake news. I mean, I've had a recent thing where, as an example, an Obama disciple named Peter Baker, he writes for the failing New York Times. He wrote a piece about me. And just one of the many things he said that was wrong, but he said that I would go around saying that I was honored here years ago as the man of the year or whatever. And I talked about how your car industry, this was long before, many years before I ran for president, maybe 18, 20 years ago. And he made the statement that that never took place, that honor never took place. I was never honored here, which was quite insulting, actually. And I didn't remember the specifics of it. It was 18 or 20 years ago. But he said it never took place. Very much like Kamala, she said she worked at McDonald's, and she didn't. And I didn't want to get into that, so what I did is I asked my people, you got to find it. When? It was like 19 years, 17, it was a long time, but I was honored. And guess what? They found it. I was. Right here. Nice looking young guy. No, it was a long time ago. So this was in, let's see, this was an update of the article that they originally printed. It says, Oakland County GOP to honor Donald Trump, former president, to speak at upcoming Lincoln Day fundraising dinner. And it says down here, the county party gave Trump the Man of the Year award at the dinner too, and he was honored as Man of the Year. So here's your article right here, Oakland Press, Oakland County GOP to honor Trump. And I have a man in the failing, fake New York Times, disgraceful paper. They ought to be ashamed. Whatever they say, believe the opposite. Who knows how long they're going to be around? It's killing our country. This kind of stuff, it's killing our country. It's really terrible. I want to thank the president of the Detroit Economic Club, Steve Gregorian, who's a very wonderful guy, as well as Congressman John James, Ambassador David Fisher, Michigan Senate Republican leader Eric Nesbitt. Thank you, Eric. It's great. Where's Eric? Thank you very much. How are we doing? I hear we're 4 points up. Well, how are we doing? Huh? Yeah, she says at least. Thank you. Michigan House Republican leader Matt Hall, a very good guy. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Is John there? John James? Where's John? He's doing well. We have some good people here. Chairman of Michigan Republican Party, Pete Hoekstra. Pete, thank you very much, Pete. And a very special man, a great guy, Dr. Masad Boulos. Many of you know him. He's a very successful man. He happens to be the father of Tiffany's husband, Michael, who's a very exceptional young guy, and she's an exceptional young woman, and she's going to have a baby, so that's nice. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Great honor. And many other distinguished guests. And we have some very, very distinguished Democrats in the room, too, and I really do appreciate you being here. That's very nice. Thank you. There'll be a day when we're going to work together. I hope we're going to be able to work together. That would be great. Good for everybody. But I'm here today to talk about a subject that has always been very dear to my heart, saving the U.S. auto industry. That's what I spoke about in Oakland many years ago. I said, they're stealing your auto industry years ago. They're stealing your auto industry. You got to stop it. Well, they didn't exactly listen. But we have to make that industry bigger, better, stronger, and more dynamic than ever before. And I've been reading about Detroit for so many years that it's coming around, and never really got there. Everybody tries so hard. But if you make the auto industry bigger, better, stronger, you don't have to worry about Detroit. It'll be very good. It'll come by its own. That would be non-artificial. that would be the way to do it, right? You make the auto industry thrive, bring it back to where it was 50, 60 years ago. You can do that too. And that's my goal, and I'm laying out a policy that will absolutely do it. In my opinion, absolutely do it. And I've been very good at this over my life. So my goal is to see U.S. auto manufacturing even greater than it was in its prime, and for Detroit and Michigan to be at the center of the action. For generations, this city and state were the world capital of automotive production. And American automakers rolled one iconic model off the line after the next: the Mustang, the Corvette, the Pontiac GTO. I had two of them, actually. I had that GTO. Oh, I thought I was the hottest guy around. It was crazy. We didn't have all of the foreign competition then. He was so proud to have a Corvette. Oh, if you had a Corvette. I never got a Corvette. I tell you, I feel I was left behind. But I had my GTO. I was something, man. I'd put that top down. See, in those days, I didn't mind when the hair waved. I'd go fast, and that hair would be waving, that blonde hair, and I'd say, who the hell can take me? Nobody. Today, I'm a little more careful. I want it to be. I want to cover up that little area up there. It's a little bit soft up there. Cover it up. No, it was great. But you did. You had the greatest product. It was just fantastic. And right here in Detroit, Americans invented the muscle car and the minivan and the family SUV so much. And along the road, you made the American automobile an inseparable part of the, and it was inseparable, of the American dream. It was part of the American dream. But after decades and decades of Michigan auto workers giving our nation their very best, our leaders in Washington did their very worst for them. They were terrible. You lost nearly 4 million manufacturing jobs after globalist politicians gave us the twin disasters of NAFTA, which I terminated, and China's entry into the World Trade Organization. That was a very expensive two things. Nearly 250,000 jobs were destroyed here. Right here in Michigan alone, think of it, 250,000, 250,000 jobs, including 40% of all of the auto jobs. And then it got to be much higher than that. Detroit was decimated as if by a foreign army. This was a foreign army invading us, but it was an army of business people, very brilliant business people, that took the candy out of our pockets just like you take it from a baby. That's how easy it was for them. Factories were left in ruins. Beautiful hotels and theaters crumbled. More than 80,000 homes were abandoned. You see it outside. By the time I came into office after our victory in 2016, the Michigan auto industry was on its knees begging for help, gasping. And really, it was at the last breaths of life. And I had to move quickly. You were going to not have any auto industry here. It was all gone. It was just about over. They were going to move so fast, and I let countries that were stealing our businesses know, you do that, I'm going to do things to you you're not going to believe. I'm going to put tariffs. They laid off a lot. They could have taken it. We were at a very vulnerable point. I let certain countries know that if you do that, I'm going to put tariffs on you, and you're going to get your asses kicked, I'm telling you. And they laid off. They really laid off. But they laid off what? We had not very much left. So just as I promised, I withdrew from the job-killing Trans-Pacific Partnership in my very first week. And the reason I did is that would have absolutely destroyed your auto industry. You would have had none left. It was a disaster. And if you remember, Hillary Clinton wanted it, and Obama wanted it. And then after she read the facts that when I did it, she came out against it because she said, you know, he's right. She was totally in favor of it. But when she said, she came out actually and agreed with me. And she said, I'm also against it. But I was there. It's sort of like no tax on tips. And then 2 months later, Kamala came out, no tax on tips. And it didn't play well for her. Didn't play well for Hillary either, obviously. I ended the disaster known as NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made by our country, and replaced it with the brand new USMCA. Bob Lighthizer and his team did a great job. The best trade deal, they say, ever made. I actually think maybe our deal with China, but I don't talk about that deal very much because of COVID. But we have a deal with China where they buy $50 billion worth of our product. That was a great deal. We have made a lot of good ones. But with the USMCA, that's Mexico and Canada, we have massive incentives to make cars in the United States of America. I renegotiated Obama's Korea trade deal, which was a disaster, to fully restore the protective tariff on foreign pickup trucks. You know, the auto industry in this country makes most of its money from the pickup truck. Who would think, right? But we do great. If we didn't have that, you'd have no auto industry. You would, because that subsidizes other things. And the only reason it does is that the tariff on every single one of the big, if you didn't have the tariffs, if I didn't put those tariffs, you would be inundated with from all over the world, and you wouldn't have it. Every single one of the big Detroit Big Three could right now, and would right now, guaranteed be out of business. 50% of their U.S. sales are pickup trucks. Think of that, 50%. They make all their money with almost all their money. I want to be very accurate because you get a lot of fake news back there. I want to be extremely accurate. They came to see you in Detroit. I'll tell you, that's a good thing because they're going to hear some things today, I think, that are going to be very interesting. Perhaps most importantly, I imposed a 27.5% tariff on all Chinese automobiles, which largely kept them out of the market, meaning kept them out of the market and kept Detroit in business. In other words, I kept Chinese cars, out of America, and we had to do it because when they come in, they take over everything, and you would have had no car manufacturing at all. And it was only me that did it. I met with a lot of resistance. And remember this, between the lobbyists and everything else, it's brutal. It's brutal. Getting people to go along with you is brutal. Even if it's the wrong thing. They know it's the wrong thing, but they get paid a lot of money. So I just want to say, Michigan, you're welcome, because we have a little base to start off. And if you look at Europe, Chinese cars have been absolutely drowning Europe, drowning it. It's killing it. But because of me, they are not drowning America. You see very few of them because of the tariffs. And when they do come in, they pay a lot of money. The Biden administration is thinking of taking that tax off. And if they take that tax off, you can wave goodbye to your auto industry. And you have the worst union leader probably in the history of, maybe in the history of our country for any business. I don't know him. Sean Fain is a disaster. But your industry would be gone very quickly. Under my leadership, we created nearly 500,000 brand new manufacturing jobs, including 30,000 auto manufacturing jobs right away. We saved it and we got it going. And that was nothing compared to what I'm talking about now, nothing. Because we had COVID come in that final period, and we had to focus on that. The share of cars sold that were domestically produced increased for the first time in many years. It actually, because it was going down, down, down. And since I left, wait till you hear those numbers. The U.S. trade deficit in automobiles dropped by $6.8 billion. Think of that. And I had to do it on the fly. We had to do it fast because you're going to have no industry whatsoever. Whatever you have now, and it's a fraction of what you used to have in the glory days. I call them the glory days. That was when we were the greatest in so many ways. U.S. Steel, look at it. They want to sell U.S. Steel to a foreign country. I'm going to not let that happen. I hope the deal doesn't close before then. I will not let that happen. We need our steel. You know, I imposed a tremendous tariff on China and the steel. They were dumping steel all over the country, and our steel mills were going out of business, and I put a 50% tariff on, and that largely stopped it. And I think the people that like me the best are the steel people, because I saved their industry. We wouldn't have one steel plant in this country if I didn't do that. There wouldn't be one. And I had no wars, but other than I finished off ISIS very quickly. But I had no wars. But whether you have wars or don't have wars, when you have to make army tanks and when you have to make planes and everything else that you have to do is mostly steel. And we don't want to be in a position where we have a problem and we need China to help us out with steel. That could be a serious problem. Do you think they'd mind selling us some steel in the middle of a conflict? But I don't think we'll have a conflict with China. I think we'll get along with China, and I think we'll get along with Russia, and I think we'll get along with Ukraine, and I think we're going to get that one settled. And I think we're not going to have a problem with Israel, like October 7th would never have happened. Russia would have never happened. They would have never gone into Ukraine had I been president. But under Kamala, we are now in a manufacturing recession with manufacturing contracting in 22, think of this, it got smaller. In 22 out of the last 23 months, it got smaller. We're losing jobs every single month. We've lost nearly 50,000 manufacturing jobs this year alone. Car sales are down by 38% since I left. The share of domestically produced cars sold has dropped significantly, and the U.S. trade deficit in automobiles has exploded by nearly $50 billion to an all-time high, the worst they've ever had it. Right now, your car industry is going out of business. It's going out of business. Nothing to do with me. I stopped that. I stopped Mexico, which is becoming the second China. I stopped Mexico from taking your car plants and moving them into Mexico and taking all of that business, making it in Mexico. So we lose all those jobs in Michigan and South Carolina and other places. We have many, Tennessee, we have many places. But I think in terms of this, because it's been so badly treated, this area, this state has been so badly treated by your politicians, your stupid politicians, what they've done to this state is incredible. And it would have been easy to stop, but half of them are paid a lot of money by a lot of a lot of people that don't care about the country. They care about how much money they're going to make, including lobbyists and others. Make a lot of money. You ever see the money the lobbyists make? They make a lot. But they give a lot of it away. I wonder who they give it to. But we're not going to allow this horror to continue. The 4-year-long nightmare for the American auto worker ends the day I take the oath of office, January 20th, it ends. Yeah, a poll just came out today. As I was walking on, they said, sir, you're 4 points up in Michigan. I said, that's all? But they said, by a poll that they called it a Democrat poll. It's a poll that would normally be very negative. So if they say 4 points, that means more. But I think we're doing well here, and I think we're doing well all over. We're leading in every single state, every swing state, by actually, in some cases, a lot. Today, I am announcing a detailed plan to save the American auto industry and bring millions and millions of jobs back to our shores and very quickly. If you vote for Trump, and you will see a mass exodus of manufacturing jobs, but from Mexico to Michigan, from Shanghai to Sterling Heights, and from Beijing to right here in beautiful Detroit. Wait till you see Detroit.